We've had this conversation many a times where I will come up against something and I'm like, hey, we can't do this because, X, X, and Y. And she's like, well, why not?
It seems like kids don't take barriers. Parents get stressed and overwhelmed by things, but I don't have that. I just push through it. I can do whatever I want. So if I want to contact a retailer, like a big retailer, then I just do it.
We were in Indigo and then she was like, oh, I just really want to be in Indigo. And all of a sudden she's talking to the sales assistant and I'm like, but she can't help you. She's just, and Lily's like, yeah. And then the woman's like, oh, well, let me connect you with such and I'm like, oh, this is really weird. And she just did it and it just happened. And I was like, why would I discard that? There's many things that I will stop myself from doing. And Lily's like, well, let's just try. What's the worst that can happen? I'm like, yeah, you're so right.
Hello and welcome to DTC Podcast. I'm Eric Dyck. Today we're coming at you with a very special DTC Minis episode with LilyLousAromas 9-year-old dynamo entrepreneur Lily Harper and her mom Chloe, as well as the debut of my 9-year-old daughter Iris as co-host. Lily's entrepreneurial journey started when she struggled with bullying and traditional learning methods during the pandemic. Her parents turned to homeschooling with a focus on mental health and learning by doing. With a bit of her parents' help, Lily's love for candles without all the nasties that you might find in other products has turned into a bustling D2C business, a massive TikTok following, and a deep desire to keep learning and growing. This podcast touches on a bunch of areas we don't normally get to cover, like how to approach children and technology with platforms like TikTok and the debate between whether to shield children from the internet or give them the tools to thrive in this digital reality. You'll hear about how ADHD can be a superpower when it comes to growing a business, as well as how a child's limitless mind and powerful imagination can be a huge benefit in a D2C boardroom. Listen to this podcast and let's all see if we can help manifest Lily's dreams of building a massive warehouse to get all the candles out of her kitchen, getting some public speaking gigs under her belt, as well as getting into Holt Ren, which she called it, which I knew she was for real after she said that. Iris and I absolutely love this one. It got my wheels turning for some ideas that I could use to put her to work. I hope you enjoy the most heartwarming episode about child labor you'll ever hear. On with the show. I just got back from D2C Newsletter's C-Suite Mastermind in Las Vegas, and I gotta tell you that this room of 100 D2C and retail operators were just buzzing about TapCart mobile shopping apps. A lot of the brands in the room are already using TapCart, and the ones who weren't are thinking about it because a mobile app is going to improve your retention. It's also going to allow you to diversify your distribution strategies, which has never been more important. And more than that, your customers are just going to love it. Mobile app users have proven to be bigger diehard fans of your brand. They've got higher conversion rates, revenue per session, and LTV compared to users that come to your web-based store. Just like fashion brand Princess Polly, who launched their app in 2019 using TapCart and now consistently see 20 to 25% of their revenue coming from this channel. It's their second highest revenue channel after their online store. With TapCart, it's incredibly easy to build, launch, and maintain your mobile apps. So to learn more, go right now to tapcart.com/DTC. That's tapcart.com/DTC. Tell them Eric sent you. Lily, Chloe, welcome to the D2C Podcast. This is a very special episode. Really happy to have you both here. Lily, you reached out to us just a few weeks ago over email, told us a little bit about your story, and we're just thrilled to have you here. Can you tell our audience your story?
Okay. Hi, my name is Lily. I was bullied at school, emotionally and physically. I was pushed down the stairs. I was thrown rocks at. People tried to cut my hair and it just wasn't good. It was just not nice, but we tried everything. We talked to the parents of the parents of the kids who were bullying me, and they said they can't control the kids, they can't do anything. And we talked to the teachers, and they just said they can't do anything either. They put me to the back of everything. They put me on a single table, which felt very lonely and isolated. But there always used to be a guard there, and there always used to be if there wasn't a guard there, then I knew I was just going to be picked on, and I knew I was going to get hurt. So I just thought it was a good idea for me to be homeschooled.
Yeah. I'm so sorry you had that traumatic experience.
Yeah.
This is Iris. If everyone's listening, this is my daughter Iris. She's been going to, I just feel so grateful. She's been going to a school that's really a really accepting school, and it's like a small classes type school. But I can imagine with kids sometimes how it can be like a snowball effect with kids too, right? When there's like some mean kids, the more kids can kind of add on. Sometimes it's sad that you had to experience that. And then how did you bridge? So, you then move into a homeschooling situation, which we all got to experience a little bit of during the pandemic, which varying results for different people. But how did you bridge from this bad experience into building a candle company?
Since I was homeschooled, I have ADHD, some traits of my dad. I always like to run around and be creative. I can't just look at a book and read because that's not me. I want to run around and do stuff. So I always thought like I could channel through my creativity doing stuff. So like creating labels, like designing like scents. But when I was like starting wax melts, I always wanted to make like eco-friendly ones because me and my mom do this ritual where we go upstairs, light a candle, and watch our favorite show, Friends. So we just thought like the candles were toxic, and
yeah, we noticed they were giving us headaches.
Like headaches and everything. So we wanted to make our own wax melts that were like non-toxic, didn't have any like bad ingredients in them. So that's how I wanted to be creative in doing those type of stuff. But yeah,
it was also the pandemic at the same time, and because we had noticed that Lily was struggling so much with sitting down at a book and kind of reading the information and understanding that information, that I remember sitting on the sofa and like crying to my mum on the phone, and I was like, I'm not a teacher, I can't do this, which I'm sure is like every parent in the world in that situation. And she was like, look, just go back to how it's supposed to be for kids, learn through play. And we had probably like everybody 1 million Amazon boxes at the time. I think it was the only thing that we could really get during the pandemic.
Yeah, we had like pretend money, and my mom would be
we
like
built
a
store,
customer.
yeah.
My dad would be like a supplier, would give me like all of the supplies around the house. So
we were struggling with like money, a lot of the math side with Lily. So all of a sudden it became like this game, and then she was really into it.
I was like, I want to do this every day.
So it was the two ideas kind of merged together at the same time, and LilyLousAromas was kind of born.
It's so interesting because I remember when during the pandemic, I think so many people were just trying to do what kids would get at school. So the book learning and the things that kind of happen at school, people tried to replicate that, but you kind of went another way, which is just sort of like real world education, right? And you found the concepts came a lot simpler when they were actually applied in something you were really interested in, which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think so as well. For me as well, I kind of went back to what I knew for school. So it was like half an hour for math, and then like half an hour or 45 minutes for English. And I was kind of trying to go through that process, and it didn't really fit. Like it was, her attention was elsewhere. And that was when we really started to grasp like, oh, this really doesn't work for her. And we were trying to, how do we flip it up and make that change, right? And this is where we saw that she started to really thrive and she would wake up and she'd be like, right, are we going to like get on with some things today? And I was like, oh, she's really enjoying this. So then that made it much easier for me to be able to teach.
So what you mentioned wax melts, and I'm not familiar with I don't know a lot about candles. So what's different between a wax melt and a regular candle?
So a wax melt is like flameless. You can get like electric warmer. So if you're scared to leave like the house on like
leaving the candle,
leaving the candle,
That's a great way of saying.
Like warming, it's okay because it like automatically like turn off.
Or if you have kids and things as well, that's kind of our go-to because I have a 1-year-old as well. So it's warmed by a light bulb. So if they touch it, it's not like really, really hot. It's not going to burn them. And then also if you have pets, so if you've got a cat and a cat looks to walk right next to the candle, it doesn't end very well, but so you kind of go to the wax melt side of things. But then obviously candles are they light on fire, but they're not toxic and don't give you any headaches.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm sure there's lots of candles out there that are just made the cheapest way possible, which probably includes a lot of chemical fillers and things, right?
Yeah.
They do, they got the parabens and the phthalates.
Parabens, phthalates, not.
Do I like candles, Iris?
Yes.
How do you know?
Because you have like 10.
I do have lots of candles around. And what did Grandma was? I bet Grandma wished I would get a wax melt because she was worried. You just had that a little bit of anxiety with an open flame.
Yeah.
Even if like I don't have a cat, my dog's safe. I think everything's safe, but with an open flame, you just have a little anxiety sometimes.
Yeah, just a little bit of stress, definitely. And I think as well as like, I know for us, it's like, did you leave the straightener on? Did I turn off the oven? You're like, did I blow out my candle? So I think with those, like with the wax melts, there's an automatic turn off. It's just the light bulb. And for us as well, when I was first going in with Lily, I was like, this is science, like mixing and, kind of like Harry Potter, like we're going to be like mixing potions here. So I was like, this will be a great place to start with. And obviously candles, everybody loves in there, just kind of like a staple anyway. But the wax melts were a little bit different and kind of a little bit out there. So that was why we started there, I think.
Bit of an unlock too, a good niche too. That's just sort of probably emerging. It's a newer category that's great for people. So you make some wax melts. How did you make your first sales?
My first sales, well, I created a website. So I posted on social media for people to roll into my website, and
it was kind of mainly like family and friends.
And family and friends. We started with family and friends because we wanted feedback before we sold to any customers. So we gave them feedback, and they said we were really good. Like, don't give you any headaches. So I was like, perfect. So I was like, let's create a website, and my mom was like, okay, but let's we clicked as many buttons, and it seemed to have appeared. So we made a website, posted on social media every day, and then customers started rolling into our website and bought from us and said like they're really good, like I really love them, and I was so happy about that.
Yeah, and then it kind of just spread the word, and then before we knew it, it was and we kind of wake up one day and we were like, oh wait, hold on a second, this is like we actually started a business. Like, how did this happen?
I was like, accident?
That's so wild. And so you started getting traction. I think, the video that I've seen a bunch of your videos, but the one that I saw was you really telling your founder's story in a really nice way with some nice editing. And it's funny, that's on the podcast. That's one of the number one things we talk about all the time for people that they don't do enough, which is really tell their personal story about the product. And it works so often on organically. It works on ads. So what was your first video that went viral?
Well, our first video that went viral was the one.
It's so funny as well because this is a good question, because when Lily first posted her videos, it had like 2 or 3 views. Yeah. So like our idea of viral at the first time was like, oh my god, a video's got 2,000 views. It's gone viral. Like viral for us. Yeah. So I think it was kind of just like a slow traction from there, and then all of a sudden the first one that really popped off. Lily spent about 4 hours editing her founder story, which was the one that got around about like 100,000 views in the beginning.
Yeah. So we got on from there, but we always thought like 200 likes was like, oh my god, viral.
Did you really? You edited it yourself? This is something that I'm always interested in, because talking, I know there's some things that parents have to help with, right? There's the banking, there's probably some of the Shopify setup, there's all of that kind of stuff. But I'm curious, like what are the technological things that you've kind of taken on yourself? Video editing is pretty impressive.
Well, I get snippets of like content that I get, and then I put them into the video, and then like I put the text on there, and then I do the voiceover, which over the videos is where I do the voice. So then if it doesn't align well, then I redo it, and then if that's better, then I post it, because then I know I give value and interest to people who are watching it.
Super interesting. This is something Iris is going to be interested in. We talked about a little bit on the pre-show, but I feel like so many parents have the feeling that they have to shield their children from technology in some ways. Or Iris just told me last night that she had a dream that I got her a phone. And I've sort of said, it's going to be a while since we get you a phone. But it's interesting to see you've gone a different approach where she's become really literate with this technology from an early age. And I think the goal with technology is that you use it and it doesn't use you. And it sounds like you're kind of putting Lily on that footing by giving her access to some of this technology.
Yeah, I think one of the main things that we talk about is creating content, not consuming content.
Yeah.
So we always say, like, make sure you don't fall into the trap of kind of consuming it.
Yeah, unless it's something the rabbit hole.
Yeah, like, because it's very easy to fall. And I think that was something that we really wanted to lean in with Lily was,
Because sometimes, like, when I was younger, I used to, like...
You get lost down it. Like, before you know it, you're, like, somewhere crazy and you don't want to do that. So I think with us, we wanted to make sure that Lily had the ability to be able to see it firsthand. Like, there's comments that come through and, you know, there's always the good side of things and there's always the bad side of things. And I think when it came to me, I was like, if I shield her from this and then she goes to it later on in life, then she won't know how to manage it. Whereas if we're here for her right now and we can talk through everything that happens on a daily basis, if a video is viral, there's always great comments, but there's always not so great comments. And if she learns how to navigate it now at this age and we can kind of be there and support her and talk through everything, then I feel like that creates a better channel between the two of us as like parent and like mother and daughter. And then also helps her to learn that she doesn't have to, you know, take those things on. And obviously we're very heavy into mental health. So I feel like trying to teach her those habits now saves me from all of a sudden her being, because whether we like it or like it not, the world is going that direction. It's technology. We can't shield them from it forever. So that was my approach and the way we went with it. And we're very grateful that we went that way. But Lily also is who she is, and she does work really, really well with us, and is she, you know, very open and truthful with us. So it makes my job a lot easier as a parent as well.
Yeah. If you had to give titles in your company, who's the CEO and who's the COO? Who's the, like, how do you break down who does what in the company?
Okay, so I do like social media, I do content, I'm like a content creator, I do like packaging, I connect with people, like founders of big retailers. My mom doesn't sign stuff, like she signs stuff for me,
contracts and pays things.
Because I'm a really little child.
It's kind of weird because it is kind of like sometimes, like, we just finished her bookkeeping for the year. Lily was a part of that because obviously from the math side of things, and I feel like that's something that kind of misses from schools, like learning how to pay your taxes, you know, like it's a great skill to have. Like, you're going to need it when you're an adult. So like, why can't we implement that now into like your math learning? So she just finished all of her bookkeeping for like last year and all of those things. And then obviously now we keep up to date monthly anyways. So it's kind of weird. There isn't really like a direct rule. It just depends on what Lily is interested in that moment. If in that moment she's all in on math and understanding the bookkeeping side of it, then we lean into it and that's what she does. But if all of a sudden she's like, I don't want to touch math and I want to be artsy and create labels and pour candles and do sciencey stuff, then that's what she does that month. So it's kind of just a case of me and her dad gauging exactly what she's feeling that month and how she wants to engage. And then we pick up anything that's surplus and then support in whatever area she feels like she wants to work in that time.
And I feel like on top of all, you're also the visionary in a lot of ways, right? Like I think you were saying in the pre-interview, just different ways that Lily thinks about obstacles and how, or thinks about them differently as a 9-year-old than we do as adults, right? Can you talk about that a little bit? Yeah.
I mean, we've had this conversation many a times where I will come up against something that maybe has happened to me previously. And I'm like, hey, we can't do this because, you know, X, X, and Y. And she's like, well, why not? I know, you know?
I'm like, so basically, if something's really tough and like hard, and my mom's like, no, that's too hard. Like, we can't do that. Like, that's not going to happen. I'm like, well, why? And it seems like people, as me and kids, don't take barriers. So as parents get like stressed and overwhelmed by things, they have barriers, so like a wall in front of me. But I don't have that. I just push through it. I can do whatever I want when I want it. So if I want to contact a retailer, like a big retailer, then I just do it. Because
whereas for me as an adult, I'm like, oh, like, okay then, like, or, right, So, like, she said, like, we were in Indigo, and then she was like, oh, I just really want to be in Indigo, and all of a sudden she's talking to like the sales assistant, and I'm like, but she can't help you, she's just, and Lily's like, yeah, and then the woman's like, oh, well, let me connect you with such, and I'm like, oh, this is really weird, and like, she just did it, and it just happened, and I was like, why would I discard that just because I thought it couldn't, and I didn't even explore it? So like, there's many things that I will stop myself from doing, and Lily's like, well, let's just try, like, what's the worst that can happen? I'm like, yeah, you're so right, what is the worst that can happen?
Yeah, like, what is gonna happen? Like, is it gonna do any harm to you?
It's just like, the worst they can say is no, and I'm like, oh, okay then, yeah, I guess so. So sometimes it's many times it's Lily leading the adults around here.
So maybe I need to listen to Iris a little bit more carefully sometimes.
I recommend it.
Yep.
Very cool. So what about the product side? Who's the product? Like, are you testing every product? Are you a mad chemist in the back room formulating the scents and aromas? How does the product formulation work, Lily?
So my dad and me, my mom.
Yeah, not so much though. I'm not trusted with
She
the
spilled the
pouring.
She just like spilled everything. So basically, from the product line, we do. So my dad.
It's you and your dad, yeah.
My dad. So he tests it, I test it, and we like. So if testing is like we light it and then see what it does, and then we do it, and then we sell them because we just want to be careful in what we're doing.
Yeah, and then I think a lot of feedback as well, kind of like their process is like testing to make sure that the wick burns all the way to the edges, and like you know, does it give off enough scent? Is the
make
cold
sure
and
it
hot
doesn't
through?
tunnel and everything.
Yeah, so they kind of go through like the sciencey side of things and why things are that way. And her dad loves that side again with the ADHD. That's kind of like their thing creatively. So that works really well for the two of them. It's also nice as well because it gives my husband also works full time. Obviously, I'm a stay-at-home mum, but my husband works, so it's nice for them to have something together that they can come together on and like do, and it's like their part. So it's really funny because I'll be like sat, you know, doing whatever I'm doing with baby or whatever, and you'll hear them two like laughing in the kitchen whilst they're making, and it's just like a really nice like moment for them to be together. So yeah, it kind of works really, really well for us.
Yeah.
What's your favorite scent? What's your favorite candle product? Is it hard? It's like picking your children?
No, I have my favorite one. It's Happy Birthday and Iridescent Sun.
Happy Birthday smells just like birthday cake.
Happy Birthday is it's a buttercream frosting and yellow cake, and the Iridescent Sun is grapefruit, melon, and citrus.
Yeah, that one's lovely.
That sounds lovely. I was making the joke previously that you should come up with a Harry Potter line of ones that have like hideous smells and things like that. But you said you had an idea that was like you thought was a joke flavor, but actually might turn out to be a good one.
Yeah, we were talking about the tomato leaf, weren't we? Because we were like, oh, tomato. But then we were like, no, actually, it smells really good.
Yeah.
We were like, maybe we should do it. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's still there. Maybe we'll do it. We have to think of something crazy for April Fool's Day. It's my birthday as well, so you'll have to like gift it to me, maybe.
Oh, nice. Do you have any? What candles would you like to smell? Any ideas you have?
Well, like I don't know
what's available. We haven't scoped this out. We like rosemary. Yeah. I like rosemary a lot. I don't know if you use that. Very good.
We do. Lots of rosemary. I like rosemary. I'm a lavender girl as well. I love lavender.
Oh yeah, Iris loves lavender too.
Yeah.
Very cool. So what's next for Lily's Aromas? I asked you what your goals are. Like what are your big goals with the business, Lily?
Big goals are like warehouse, like getting a warehouse so I can start like get my products in there, as well as also like getting more like doing candles and also having more products. So seeing what's coming.
Getting into the big retailers.
Yeah, big retailers and other stores. So yeah, that's kind of like the goals.
That's like the focus, yeah. Also public speaking as well.
Public speaking as well. I'm gonna try to get to as many events so like for public speaking so I can be a speaker, which I'm really happy because I really like public speaking.
And we'll talk to you about that after. We might have an opportunity. But you've also started quite a community as well, right? Like you probably had a lot of positive outreach from your TikTok profile. And I know you connected with the Pluffle guys, with Yuki, who Iris is very excited because he traded, he's coming to our mastermind in exchange for some Pluffles.
The best. We're very jealous.
Pluffles, yeah. The 4 executives in the company are all getting Pluffles. We only get one.
We're coming to your house.
Yeah, you guys can come. Yeah,
we'll bring the candles. It'll be fine.
Oh, I like it. Oh, dude, I am not above bribery by any stretch of imagination. So
me neither. I'll take it. It's fine.
So that I just got a hex-clad frying pan today from someone who's coming on the podcast. So my whole house is going to be outfitted in podcast gear.
That's perfect. You know, that's what you got to do. Spread the dream. That's
right. Yeah. I think about your business, and all the best founders I know have that real connection to the story of their business, and it must just warm your heart knowing that your products are out there providing, you know, like warmth and comfort, and like as the Danish call it, hygge or hygge, that sort of sense of well-being you get from nice candles in your space. Do you think about that?
I think we do. I think it's when we kind of go. It's so hard because it's such a toss-up between kind of like our own journey with mental health, like we love taking care of ourselves, like our self-care journey, like it's such a big thing,
like big
deal in this house,
in our journey.
So then the product, obviously being the candles, is like, it's like a little piece of like what we do, and because Lily resonates with the kids side of things, I resonate with the mums, we get a lot of different messages. So like even today I had a message from a mum who was like, I know it sounds crazy, but just a candle being in the house, like you don't realize how happy it makes me. And and I know it is just, you know, a candle, but it's not because it's a physical reminder. Every time you see it, you're like, oh, I need to make sure I like wash my face today and take some time for me as a mum. And it really is that physical reminder. And then the same for Lily within, I know the younger generation tend to lean more towards the wax melts because open flames. But it's the same for them. You know, they clean their room, they tidy, and through what Lily shares on social media, and it inspires them to take care of themselves. And, you know, if they're struggling at school, then that's like their little bit that they get to align with Lily. And I feel like that's really important to us. So yes, it might just be an aroma and it might just be a candle, but to everybody else within our community, it's so like much more. There's a reminder
in there.
So. Yeah. So much more. It's a cry.
It is beautiful. I think self-care is something that most adults are just in the last 5 years starting to really focus on. And again, you're going to be ahead of the curve, Lily, I think, you know, when it comes to some technology things, some business things, as well as self-care. I'm curious, from a 9-year-old's perspective, what does self-care look like for you? What are some of the things that you really do that more adults should be doing when it comes to self-care?
When it comes to self-care, it's where you go into your bathroom and you light the candle, and you put on some products, and you'll
I mean, for us, we do skincare.
Like skincare, and we wash our faces, and we just we get reset. We reset our bodies and everything, and then we go to bed, and then we go to sleep, because then we do the next thing, and we do it after and after and after. Because
I think for us as well, we've always made sleep I know it sounds really crazy, but we've made sleep a really big priority in the house. Yeah. So everybody going to bed, we've never had an issue with the I don't want to go to bed, which I think it's because me and her dad always have these really strong, if I don't get enough sleep, I'm super cranky the next day. I don't know about anybody else, but I wake up, I don't feel good. The day doesn't feel right. I need to have the right amount of sleep, and the temperature needs to be good, and I need to be relaxed before I go to bed.
I go to bed at 7 p.m. straight. I do my skincare, and I read a book and a journal. Then I
just wind down.
Wind down, and then I go to sleep at 9. As well, my family has the same routine. As well, my baby sister goes to bed at 6:30. But I know it's tempting to stay up late and play video games or do stuff. But I think it's really good to take care of your sleep, because I get cranky the next day as well.
And it's a marathon, not a race. You're going to be doing this for decades and decades and decades more. So the more you can wow, super interesting. Iris, I wanted to know, I don't want to put you on the spot here, but did you have any questions for the young entrepreneur? No, not right now.
Think of them afterwards.
He doesn't. Well, she was mentioning to me, one of her ideas was a sticker of the month club, or a sheet of stickers on the month. And did you say you know someone who was building a business around stickers, Lily?
Yeah.
Yes, so one of Lily's friends, a couple of their friends, just after seeing the things that they were doing, that Lily was doing, they wanted to start a sticker business. But it has been, we have within our group of friends, somebody has a soap business, somebody else who does dog collars. So I know it's very catching. So sorry to the parents if
my friends are like, oh my god, I was so inspired by you. I really want to start a business.
So that's a sticker business. So Lily helps to guide them on what they're doing, and make sure that they're charging the right prices, and it's a price more than what they're buying their things for. So it's it's fun, it's nice. It creates a little community there of people who need help, and now she has a lot of them on social media, so brings her a lot of joy.
You mentioned ADHD earlier, and that's something that I know Iris has some friends, I think, that are just being diagnosed with that, and I feel my brother and I were just talking today. We both feel it's probably something that's touched our lives in different ways without realizing it when we hear how it's described. But how has it played? I've also heard it can be a superpower. I've heard quite often it can be perceived as a superpower. How is it a superpower for your family?
my mom, she doesn't have ADHD, but she has a superpower to like do anything.
Yeah, but for you guys with ADHD,
yeah, for me,
I feel like it's a superpower.
Yeah, my superpower is like
focusing. Like we call it like the hyper focus.
Yeah,
which I'm pretty sure is like an ADHD thing, and when you're doing something, it just means that that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
And then there's like everything else falls just to the sides, like there's non-existent. Like that's the thing that you're doing. And
I have like different ideas in my brain, so like.
Yeah. Whereas with me, I'll like try and spin like 15 different plates at the same time and not really get anywhere. That's why I say like I do many things but not excel at any of them.
Well, I do with like I work on that thing, and then when I'm done that, then I go to the next thing. When I'm done that, I go to the next thing.
Yeah. Which is like a superpower, if I'm being honest.
I write 3 things down and what I'm going to achieve for my goals. So I'm like, if I don't achieve that goal, then I keep on working onto it. So I set a plan in place every day.
That is true. She does. She writes down 3 things every day that she wants to get done.
Yeah.
That's a huge
and
part.
Nothing else. There's only 3 things.
That's so good. That's so good for productivity. That's a big part of self-care as well, is actually verbalizing and making your goals real by actually writing them down. I think that's something that more and more people should do, including myself.
Me too. But I think that was something that we noticed, and again with the ADHD, with my husband, if he doesn't write things down, it's gone and it's out of his head. And I think that was something that we noticed, and we built that as a habit for Lily. So we were like, right, when you have these ideas come into your head, we write them down, and when we write them down, then we can keep on track of them. Because I always say, like, it's really funny, if I send my husband to the store for 3 things, he'll come back with none of them. But if I give him a list, then he'll just come back with those 3 things. So this is the same with Lily, that if she has a certain goal she wants to work through the day, making sure that those are the things that she hyper focuses on and tries not to get distracted by other things, then she can use her ADHD as a superpower to be able to just focus on those things, and everything else is not important.
Yeah.
Get through those 3 tasks. And if you can't get through them, then it's no big deal. Like, it's not the end of the earth. Like, sometimes things come off, sometimes they don't. But at least she gave it 100% of what she could do, and then we kind of move on.
Yeah.
You were mentioning just in the pre-talk there that you had a video that just went viral today. Can you?
Yeah. Today.
Today.
Yeah.
Can you describe that like what happens when a video goes viral to you? What do you first? Do you start? Does your Shopify just start cha-chinging, or what? How does that work?
I mean, if my video goes viral, I get very excited and we celebrate.
Yes, always celebrate. Always have to recognize that something good is happening.
Yeah. And,
how do you celebrate?
Well, we celebrate with we have we make vegan cakes, so they're like vegan, and then we like
tiny candle,
and then we're like viral,
happy viral,
and we celebrate, and then we just like work, and then all we hear is like cha-ching, 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 and when I hear that cha-ching, that means like orders are coming in, like people are purchased, and when I hear that cha-ching, I'm like.
And then we kind of go, and then you just it's notifications, and then as fast as you're refreshing, it's refilling straight back up again. And Lily loves answering the comments. She loves going through, and she reads every single one out loud to us, and then reads what she's responded, and we sit with her and go through them. But it always kind of a little bit makes us sad when they go viral, because we can't get back to everybody and all of the messages, and all of people when they're ordering as well, they leave like really nice stories like on like their orders, and it makes us sad. We're like, we need to respond to everybody, but it's really, really difficult. But it's also super amazing, and feels so grateful to be able to be, well, even have the opportunity, to be honest.
It's amazing. This platform, this podcast, we use it as a manifestation platform, and you mentioned a couple things. So you want to get into big retail. So I know a lot of different people listen to this podcast. So if you're listening out there to the DTC podcast and you've got a connection for Lily, get in touch with, I guess, Chloe, potentially, or just reach out on TikTok. Just leave a comment on TikTok. But I guarantee there's a few retail players or some people who know some retail players that could potentially help. So that's what I'm helping to manifest for you. Because I want you to get that. First of all, are all these candles in your living room? You said you wanted to get a workshop. Is this currently in your house right now?
They're in our kitchen.
In your kitchen.
So our kitchen, my lounge, my dining room.
My mom has I have nowhere to cook.
I have nowhere to even live anymore. It's
so we
my
have
garage,
to put everything to the side.
Yeah, Lily has a maker station on the opposite side of our kitchen.
And then when if we eat a sandwich, we're like, this is like fragrance oil.
I'm like, we have fragrance oil on the mind. So I was like, Lily, you got to move out. This is it.
But
This is your warning. But I think I'm not sure if we mentioned before to you, but Lily was actually supposed to launch, she was supposed to have
my candles
featured in Nordstrom in Canada. But unfortunately, obviously Nordstrom shut down in Canada and the contract was cancelled. But Nordstrom is still the goal, but
Still
just America.
Just America.
But
and
we
then also have other retailers that we want to reach out
yeah,
to.
like Indigo, there's
Indigo, Barnes and Nobles,
Hudson Bay,
Hudson Bay, Holt Renfrew, and also
Francesca's in the States as well.
In the States.
I knew you were the real deal when we were talking previously and you said, I want to get into Holt Ren. And I'm like, oh, if you've got a short form for Holt Renfrew, then I know you know what you're talking about. That's so cool. Nice. Well, I can see it happening in your future. And right now, all this growth is organic. You know, this podcast is started about advertising and media buying and all this nerdy stuff that we love to talk about. But you've been building this whole business just kind of on your organic social profiles, the power of your incredible founder's story. But what do you think about ads? What do you think about the whole advertising game? Do you think you'll want to get into that in the future?
Yeah.
She's like, yes. I think that was what we were kind of saying. Like, if this video has, like, the videos that she has for her founder story, we were literally talking about this in the last few days. We were saying if that has the ability to organically go that far and create what it has created, you know, even just in the last few days with the recent one that's gone viral, what would the ability have if you then invested, you know, your money into it and then see how far it could go with paid ads?
Yeah.
And I think it's definitely something that we're leaning into right now and trying to understand. Because we don't have oodles of kind of knowledge on that. I know, as we mentioned before. So we're trying to figure out what exactly is. We've had plenty of videos that have gone viral and have converted nothing. We've had things, you know, that have gone off, and it's maybe a little bit of a story about Lily, but it's not really mentioned the candles. And we're like, oh, wait, hold on a second. So that doesn't work. So how do we change this up and make it work in different ways?
We need to give value to the people and the interests, because if we're like,
holds
this,
the attention,
holds the attention of like our candles and how we got into how I got into my business and how I got bullied, and
they align with it so much more.
They align with it so much more, and they just being so inspired.
Yeah. And
I'm sure you're finding it's not just customers, it's potential retail contacts, it's podcasters who you email. It's, you know, your story becomes your, you know, a really great asset, right? To be able to kind of make everything else grow faster in your business. So
I think that as well, where you kind of touched on that, like a lot of people say like, oh, you know, why a business? Like, why are these things? And it's so interesting, because as a 9-year-old, you don't have any need to pay rent. You don't need any reason to make money. It's not. And I think a lot of what that is for Lily is kind of just being able to build this community and be that support person that she didn't have when she was in school. Lily always says that when I was in school, I didn't have anybody. I mean, apart from me, like she was like, you were the only person I really looked up to or was inspired by. Yeah. And I think what happens is now that she has this community of people who, you know, say, I mean, even yesterday someone came on, they said, this is like my safe space. I know I can come on here and watch Lily. And like my mum encourages me to come on here and watch your videos. And I think being able to inspire and be that person that Lily wishes that she'd had when she was in school brings her a lot of joy. And then
people are like, I stayed up like 10 p.m. just to watch you like live.
Yeah. Which is really nice. And then the same for myself, the mums who reach out to me and say, hey, I'm also suffering with, you know, postpartum depression, or I'm really struggling with the kids, and just watching your story and the things that you do with Lily. Now I've implemented that with my kids and my life has become a little bit easier, and I just can't thank you enough. And to me, again, it's not really kind of the business side of things, but more just the personal connection. Yeah. And the same way that she connected with you, you know, she was like, oh, I just wanted to say thank you for everything that they do. And it really inspires me. And that building of community is, I think, just something that's really even more important than the business side of things, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it will be for the business side as well, right? As you meet more people like who will just go out of their way to help mentor you as well, I imagine, right? When it comes to growing your business, taking it to new levels, I'm sure there's lots of people who will reach out even from this just to help out.
Yeah, we do get that on a daily basis. Lots of people who reach out to support. And I mean, even Lily's retailers, like the stores we're in, like the smaller mom and pop stores that are really so important to us. They're like really good friends of ours. Like they invite us to their events and we hang out with them like their family. And we just look after each other, and it's just so much nicer to be able to do things that way. And I feel like that builds like a really good connection of people around Lily as she grows up, and to have people around her who are building their businesses and these incredible women who are doing amazing things.
It makes me so happy that I've inspired thousands of people to like make their business.
And then equally, Lily has thousands of people who inspire her. So I feel like it's kind of just an all good round situation, hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Lily, you mentioned Friends as a show that you love. Iris has seen a lot of great TV as well. But I'm curious, what else do you like to do when you're not doing business? When you're not building your business? What are some of the best ways you like to relax? Or what are some of your hobbies?
I like to do is ice skating. I like to do gymnastics. I like to play like basketball or something.
Lily plays the ukulele as well. I never know how to say that. Ukulele? Ukulele?
Ukulele.
Ukulele. You can just call it ukulele because it's
ukulele. My brother's a music teacher,
and he plays like piano and guitar, and he has a ukulele. And
he bought you one for your birthday.
He bought me one for my 9th birthday. So I was like,
and then she learned how to play that, which was really good. And her dad plays golf. He's a pro golfer, so Lily goes to play golf with her dad.
I go to the camps and I play golf with my dad and everything, and it's just
Lily is just fun. I think with ADHD, like she loves baking and crocheting. We have sewing machines.
Yeah, my grandma, she does crocheting, so she's like, okay, this is how you do it, and I'm like that. And I'm like, if I'm not building my business, I'm like, well, like, Grandma, can I like crochet with you? Don't worry, I'm like a little bad crocheter, but I'm getting there. Practice.
But that is kind of the weird thing as well with what we call like the unschooling, because we don't follow like a sit down at a book and read a book. We say that everything is a learning experience. So like yesterday we were out in the garden and it was raining and Lily was like, oh, like worms. And I was like, oh, do you know how long worms live? And then we just started talking about things. So there's not really a curriculum that you follow as per se, but you lean into things that they're interested in. If all of a sudden she says to me, why are the clouds fluffy today and they're not like stretched out? Well, then I go, okay, now she's interested. Let's go Google it. Let's figure out, let's learn about them. Let's put a presentation together. So
I'm like, why is there like a line cloud? Or it's like, why, like, it's so many things.
So yeah, the hobbies kind of lean in with the school as well. So it's kind of weird because we don't really see anything as schooling.
I just wish we could like be taught this at school because this is really big.
Did you have what about you, Iris? What are your favorite pastimes, hobbies these days?
Well, I do sewing, I drum, I love dancing, I love singing, I love swimming.
Those are the big ones, yeah.
I really like
swimming's a good one.
Yeah.
I like swimming.
I like swimming.
I like that. But I've just been impressed with all the great things she's been able to create for all of our grocery bags, and just like her short she was wearing yesterday. She's quite a seamstress. So maybe that's something you can also look into e-commercing potentially.
Yeah.
You could create some custom Iris's clothes too.
Yeah. Well, whenever you're ready, we'll be there. First customers.
Very cool. Well, this leads me to my last question. So if we were to give you $50,000 for the business, this is the stock question. One of these days I'm going to be able to have it and offer it. But I'm just curious, like, if you were to get a cash infusion into the business, what would you think about running ads? How would you think about using that to grow your business?
I think most importantly is getting a warehouse.
Yes, thank you for thinking of me.
And
I think ads.
Yeah, ads as well as like
Disneyland.
Yeah,
Disneyland.
Disneyland.
That would probably be the first one before everything else. She's like, bye everyone, I'm off to Disneyland. Get some sunshine after being in Vancouver.
Because they've got that Harry Potter world now there too, right? Or maybe that's not there. Maybe that's somewhere else.
That's the one. Disneyland is definitely Harry Potter. I've definitely seen in our plans.
We'll have to get her out to. She's been to Disney World when she was very little, but we'll have to get her out to Disneyland. So
yeah,
I want to go to Disneyland because I was like 5 years old when I was like.
The last one. Well, we're from the UK, so we went to Paris, but we need to go to the one where at this side. It was very cold when we went. We went to Paris, and I think it was November, so it was a bit chilly. So we need to go in the sunshine, please.
Yeah.
Nice. Great. Well, thank you so much for coming on the D2C podcast. Again, if you're out there, if you're a retailer, you've got retail connections, get in touch with Lily on TikTok. Also, let's stay in touch about potential speaking opportunities because we got some fun stuff coming up in that regard. And otherwise, yeah, next time I'm in Vancouver, I'll have to come over and tour your facilities because you'll have a warehouse by then, I'm sure.
Yes,
Yeah.
we're just manifesting it now. So
Manifesting.
Okay, cool. Thanks everyone.
Thank
Thank you, Iris, for being my co-host today. This was really nice.
yes, killed it, Iris.
Thanks so much for listening to today's episode. If you're not a subscriber to our newsletter, you can do that right now at direct-to-consumer, all one word.co. I'm Eric Dyck, and this has been the D2C Podcast. We'll see you next time.